Okay, we are here at our two-dog Vista build, and I am here with Marge from Living Plasters, and today's episode is all about plaster. We're here at Two Dog, and most of the walls in the home are plaster. What type of plaster? What is it like? What are we exactly putting on the wall?
What we do is a veneer lime plaster.
Okay.
The product we use is called Earthhouse. Lime is basically limestone, and it goes through a process where they fire it at high temperatures in a kiln.
Okay.
And then after doing that, it turns into what they call quicklime.
Okay.
And then they add water to it, which is called slaking.
Okay.
And then they get a lime putty. And this is basically like a dehydrated lime putty.
Interesting.
And then once you apply it to the walls and it dries out, it chemically turns back into limestone and cures.
Okay.
And cures on the wall.
What does the wall surface have to be prepared for you guys to come in and actually apply the plaster? Like, let's pretend this is the wall that your plaster is going on. What needs to be done to this wall to prepare for that?
It needs to be a smooth, primed surface for us.
I pretend to know more things than I do, so, but I'll admit for sure I don't know what goes on here. So yeah, show us what you do.
Well, we have our bagged product, which is all of the lime and aggregate, and then we get a bucket of water. We have our handy dandy measuring stick, cheat sheet of how much water we need for a bag.
That's perfect.
And then
it's kind of like a story pole. We use that for building, you know?
yeah.
Same.
And then over here we also have natural pigments that we can weigh out and make custom colors.
Okay.
So we'll have our bucket of water,
Okay.
adding pigment, and then adding dry material.
Okay, so you've got everything mixed in your buckets and whatnot. What do you do after that?
After that, prior to that, we've probably spent a lot of time taping and
Okay.
getting the wall all prepared. But
yeah, like in here, right? Like you did all this protection. You guys did all this protection.
Yeah,
right?
we did this so in case we splatter, it kind of just makes it easier to clean up.
But before you move into a room, you're saying you tape everything. You tape the floors, finished surfaces, windows, things like that.
Yeah, we like to get really clean lines on our, like wherever we're stopping, so that when we pull it off, it just looks
real nice.
Really nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then after that, we would have our bucket of mud, and we all have hand tools for application.
What are some tools that you're using? I see these like tapered trowels and whatnot. Are these specific to applying the material?
Yep, these are Italian trowels.
Okay.
And this is a hawk, our basic tools. And then we also will use different size putty knives for detailing.
Okay.
And then there's just there's like a million different trowels. This is a small Japanese trowel, and they come in different shapes and sizes.
And is that just for getting in tight little corners, obviously?
Yeah.
Like that? Okay. That's cool. All right, so are there added benefits to your health or things like that, creating a healthier home by putting plaster on your walls instead of just putting latex paint?
So one thing about lime plaster is that it inhibits mold growth. It actually can hold moisture and humidity and release it back into the air, so it keeps mold from forming.
So it has almost like an absorption rate, kind of like a sponge in a way. It absorbs moisture, but it kind of knows when to release the moisture after it gets oversaturated or something?
It's basically does it with the air. So if the air is dry, it's going to be drying out the plaster, but if it's really humid, then it will hold on to that.
Interesting.
Whereas paint, it'll be like a condensation.
For sure.
So
kind of locks it in, right?
Yeah, for a building science perspective, it's pretty cool in that
So it's breathable.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then the other thing is it has 0 VOCs. So unlike other coatings that
Yep.
may be off-gassing
Yep.
for a while after they're applied.
In particular, paint.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another benefit just to have it over paint is that it has just it levels up like on the beauty of your
Yeah,
home.
totally. It gives the walls, everything like a totally different feel. When you walk into the room, it doesn't just look like a hand textured, painted surface.
Yeah.
My wife last night and I were talking and she's like, it's almost like a piece of art
Yeah.
on each individual wall because like this is your hand and your, movement on the wall. So it's very cool. When we start to work with clients, or when you start to work with clients, this project, obviously, I don't know if it's typical, but the architect, Tucker, has a designer in-house, and we did all kind of the decision-making through her. But you brought these samples to show the different types of finishes and whatnot that can be done, and we show these to the clients, color, texture, finish, all that sort of stuff, right? I mean, is that the process typically?
Yeah, usually I try to get people to see like all of the different variations because some of them are shinier and have a lot more movement.
Yeah.
Some of them are like a bit more rugged, you could say.
Yeah.
But everyone has like a different personal preference. So when they can see the difference in person, then they can kind of dial in. We want a certain finish.
Now, do you make a custom sample for every client? Typically?
Pretty much, yeah. Unless they come to our showroom, we have a lot of samples there.
Are these all lime?
These are all lime.
Okay.
The company we get our material from, Earth House, they do 4 different finishes.
Okay.
There's sand, which is the most like, it's kind of a rugged, like earthy, natural finish.
Okay.
Then we have stone, which is a more like it's more matte and you can start to see some movement in there, but it has like a closed and open texture that plays with each other.
Is that what we have here?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a marble, which is it's kind of like Venetian marmerino, where it's very smooth. You can get it really shiny.
Okay.
Polish it a lot if you want to.
So do you have to work at polishing all of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can see a lot more like movement and.
Okay. And then what is this one?
This is Tadillac, and usually we use it in showers and bathrooms.
All right. So this one doesn't look like all the other ones. What am I seeing here?
Correct. This one has a texture that we made with basically a notched trowel.
Okay.
And then went back to smooth it down.
Where do you see something like this typically? Walls, or fireplaces, or where? I mean, is this throughout an entire home? Would you do an entire home in this type of texture?
I mean, if that's what someone liked, I think it works better as like kind of an accent, like a powder room.
Exactly.
When you see those and they're really funky and different, it's kind of cool.
There's a lot going on. So we've covered samples, we've covered finishes, we've covered some tools and the process. Should we go see some walls where it's been applied and all that good stuff? Yeah? Okay. All right, so we are coming into the master bedroom. This wall is finished. Tell me, like, what was the process to get this wall to this finished state?
Yep, well, we start off masking all of the things that we don't want to get our plaster on, and on things that we know we're finishing too, like the windows and doorways and stuff, we want to get like a really nice clean tape line so that when we pull it, it just looks pristine, like you can see this.
Exactly. This is a great example over here. So it's kind of like when painters do their tape caulk. They basically put a piece of tape and they run their caulk in there, they paint to that, and then they pull off that tape and they get a really nice line. So same sort of thing.
Yep. So we do that, and then we come in and we do our base coat.
What's different about the base coat than this coat that we're seeing here?
The difference is that once there's a base coat, when you're doing the second coat, you can get it a lot like smoother and just do different finishes on it, whereas with the base coat, it's hard to really dial it in to
Okay.
looking really good.
Say the homeowners scuff this or ding this or it gets dirty with handprints. Like I've got 3 kiddos and I know it would just be a disaster with handprints and whatnot. How does somebody clean this and how cleanable is it?
For this, you would just clean it, like lightly wipe it with a like detergent. You don't want to like be scrubbing at it because it will eventually erode at it, but it's repairable. Like I would come back and do fill little digs.
Like if there was a ding or something.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And that's never happened on one of your jobs?
Never
had been dinged? All right, so we're here in the hallway.
Yep.
We saw the finished product, but this is the base coat, right? It's got the color in it, but it's not the final product. And you're gonna show us how the final product goes on.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna get to try.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a little demonstration. We have our handy bucket scoop, which is worth its weight in gold.
Because it's shaped like the bucket?
Yes.
Yes.
We like to put the correct amount of mud on, so if it's really liquidy, it doesn't fall everywhere. Lime is really sticky and like should be able to be held that way.
There you go. Hey, that's kind of like when you get a blizzard at Dairy Queen. Have you ever, where they do that and then they turn it upside down?
And so it needs to stick onto this hawk because if I hold it this way and I'm trying to scoop, it doesn't go onto my trowel. And that's what everyone has the hardest time remembering, is that you hold it this way and cut in nicely. And then I like to start applying and getting a decent amount of mud. And when I'm doing, like for this finish, we're doing like intentionally varied so it looks really natural. Some people want a finish that's just all vertical and then you just get a different look. But I put some on and then it's getting suction from the base coat. So after it sits a minute, I can come back and smooth everything.
And when you say it's getting suction, does that mean the base coat is sucking the moisture out of the top coat you're applying?
Yep.
And that's helping to kind of make this one coat?
Yeah, it dries to like a leather like feel, and then when that happens, you can come in and like take down trowel marks. And then if you really wanted to, depending on the finish, you could wait a little bit more and you can come back and like hit it more and it'll get really shiny and like burnish.
So that's how you get the shine?
Yep.
Is the continual kind of working of it? Wow.
So if you're ready
Oh yeah.
and willing.
Okay. So you said go up with it?
Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
Was that good?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So the one thing is the angle of your trowel. When I put it on, I'm having a lower, like flatter angle, and then when I come back, I'm raising it up a little. Yeah.
Are you using both sides?
Sometimes.
So,
yeah.
like coming back?
Yep. Nice.
Am I hired?
You're hired.
Okay, so we've seen how the plaster goes on the walls, and we were talking back there in the hallway about plaster, the product itself, how long it's been around. You were telling me a little bit of the history of plaster. And then we got to talking about how interesting we're in this very modern, high-performing home in 2025, but we're bringing all of the exterior into the home, right?
Yes.
Plaster, lime. Been around for a long time, right?
Japan, it's been around several thousand years. They have a long history of doing different plasters. Another one is Morocco, where Tadilat comes from, and that was about 2,000 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And then recently I learned that in Italy, you know, they have the really big domes.
Yeah.
Those are made out of lime concrete,
Okay.
basically, and they've lasted 2,000 years.
And even the tools that you use, right? Those have basically remained the same since, plaster application.
Yeah.
Like the hawk that you're using and the trowel that you're using, sure seems like it's the same tools that have been used for eons, years and years and years. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's great. So it's all over the world. I mean, like we were talking about, we're bringing like the trees into that, all the wood paneling in the house, the wood paneling on the ceiling, the rock, our countertops, as well as the plaster. Like all of that material is being brought into this home. It was just an interesting talking point that we were discussing.
Yeah, I think plaster really just ties all of those natural materials together.
For sure.
In a way that just...
It brings like this cohesive, rather than just kind of your standard drywall, with a hand texture or a level 5, as they say, with latex paint. It's an art, like it's a piece of art. Every wall is totally different, and it's just like this beautiful piece of art that you guys have performed so well. All right, Marge, first of all, thank you so much for doing an excellent job in this home. But secondly, thank you for educating us today on all things Plaster.
Thank you for having me.
For sure, and if you are not subscribed, make sure to subscribe on YouTube. And if you're not following us on Instagram, make sure to do so.